All right, cool. Two quick things. One, I've started calling these daily sermons because that's really more of what they are. I'm also going to try to make them a lot shorter. Sorry, guys. Number two, for today's, I am looking at. Sorry, I'm still learning how to do this. Share. Um, I'm looking at a post from earlier today on LinkedIn, and I'll link to this with this video. But essentially, the idea here is that so many people from kind of the big name Silicon Valley companies, your FANG companies, are moving to Web3, and most people see this as a good thing. And not that it's a bad thing per se, but to me, it's not necessarily something that is automatically a good thing. And anyway, Christopher here, sharing his opinion, said, basically the idea is that Web3 is becoming the new Silicon Valley, and I've heard that from a lot of other people. So, and I just wrote, I guess, a little bit tongue in cheek, but hopefully we can aim a little higher than that. And he asked me to explain. I thought, well, that's a fair point because what the fuck does that mean? Um, I forget sometimes you can't read the 17 million thoughts that are hidden behind these little comments that we make, huh? So, yeah, I'll expand on that for just a second. Uh, what do I mean when I say, can we aim higher than Silicon Valley? I think essentially what I'm, I think essentially what I'm hoping for is that we can build a system that is more kind of like what I was saying yesterday, more inclusive, more representative in general of the world that we live in and the people and the communities within that world. Um, as where Silicon Valley, generally speaking, does not, and even where you could argue that there's certain areas where it has been good. I mean, we can see that there's a lot of people that have so in this country at least a lot of people look at progress by bringing other people here, right? So for example, you'll hear a lot of companies, big companies, talking about how they're making the world a better place um, by offering visas to tech workers and things like that so they can move to America or whatever. Or you'll see others that are saying, "Oh, we're taking jobs and we're moving them." If you go in the other direction, right? Like, "Oh, we're taking jobs and we're moving them to underdeveloped parts of the world, right? And we're providing a new level of life for these people that are, these people that are normally working for $1 a day, and we're going to pay them $5 we're going to pay them $5 a day instead, and look at us and how great we are." As if the underlying motivation of both of those things isn't just to maximize the profit of the Silicon Valley company, tooting its own horn. The reason you got in bed and had the specialty visas created in the first place with your government contacts is because you needed those people closer to build your profit centers. You needed them to run your data centers. Um, and you needed them to be physically there. Any of the jobs where you didn't need them to be physically there, you've started offshoring to places, and yeah, okay, you're paying them more, but you're still not paying um what anybody in any other part of the world would consider a fair and living wage, right? To use the term living wage. And so to me, it's like I don't see any hidden or I shouldn't say hidden. I don't see any real morality in that decision. It's a profit decision, like any other decision that Silicon Valley makes. I don't understand these. I don't understand when people seem to think that companies are going out of their way to help you out. They're not. That's not their goal. And it would actually, if, if that was what they were doing, it would actually be a disservice, right? It would be a in potentially a fiduciary or a lapse of fiduciary responsibility on the part of the leaders of the company to do anything that hurt profit simply for the sake of the community, right? Like the brand community, whatever that is, or the users, or whatever it happens to be for the individual brand, right? And so what do you have to do instead? Well, what you do is you figure out a way, right? And this is where marketing's really good, and this is where consultants come in. But you figure out a way to give people what they think they want or what they need while maximizing profit in the process, right? Great example. I mean, Google's the master of this, right? Because all their products are free, right? And so for the average person who uses Google, Chrome, any of the apps, Android, any of that stuff, right? YouTube, most people go, this is such a great free service, right? And not understand and thinking that they're the customer. You're not the customer. You're not paying anything. You're the product. Like your eyeballs watching those ads, that's what, and then clicking on those ads, like your actions, that's what Google is selling to its real customers, the advertisers and content creators. And really, content creators now at this point are more like independent contractors. Advertisers are still the customers and shareholders, right? Like those are your real customers, and everybody else is just figuring out a way to turn your data into profit, right? And this, of course, is the big push for Web3. That's why everybody wants to own their own data, is because people have gotten a little bit wise to this now over the last couple decades, and especially when that data is now being used to target individuals. What in the beginning, I don't necessarily mind it in some forms. Like, yeah, if I'm gonna see an ad, I'd rather it be an ad for something I actually need or want. So I'm not saying that it's all bad, but what I am saying is to sit there and pretend that Silicon Valley in and of itself is some kind of um, an ideal that we should shoot for. I think is at the very least small-minded. I think we can do a lot better than that, and I think that's where DAOs come in to play. And obviously, I'm a fan of DAOs and decentralized autonomous organizations that remove the hierarchy, that remove um, the more traditional power structures, right? That we see in a lot of these companies, or in all these companies, and incentivizes in many cases the ones that are actually run for purpose and run like a DAO, as opposed to just a startup with a NFT ICO kind of thing. Um, those approach their work very differently. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying money isn't a part of it. You still have to fund it. I get that. But their focus is on change, real change for their whatever it is that they're the problem that they're tackling, right? So whatever community they're trying to serve, that's the goal. And most of the time, the people working within that DAO are also part of the community that it's serving. So it is literally self-serving, and so it's not about extracting profit from the community of others. It's about improving the community, one of many communities that individual is in. And that's a very different mindset than Silicon Valley. Very different mindset, which is how can we best market to every individualized community? And the way to do that is by segmentation, right? And that's what we've seen in a whole industry of segmentation. And there's a human cost to that, because when you boil people down to data and you try to classify them by their geography, their income, their race, gender, religion, and things like that, it makes it a lot easier to market to them. A lot fucking easier to market to them. And it could be a broad or a niche, right? It just depends. I mean, look at CNN and Fox. Like these guys have figured it out. They know that if they go broad and there's only two basically major cable news networks, well, okay, we'll take this half, you take this half. We all know each other. We own stock in each other's companies. We're all friends. So we can play the part. And, I'll give you this slant of the news and you give that slant of the news. And then we'll fill the other 92% of the 24-hour news cycle with opinion. And there you go. Like, it's easy. And so they're both essentially, both of those organizations are profit centers, right? They're just targeting different customer bases. That's it. And they're basing it on a very broad political spectrum. Like, are you Republican or Democrat? Like, at a base level, that's essentially what they're doing. That's what they're targeting. And then you can niche down, like certain shows target different subgroups within the broader spectrum of the network, right? So certain shows will lean more towards the more conservative of either one of those groups. Some will lean more to the more radical of those groups or extreme of those groups. And then you can systematize backwards from there and figure out, okay, what time slot should I put them in? What kind of guests should we have? Should it be a male host, a female host? All that kind of crap. Well, how much online engagement versus TV engagement are we getting? All that can be kind of figured out just through data, right? But what it leaves out, of course, is the individual. Everybody then becomes just an amalgam of the group. And then we wonder why we have problems with group identity in our society. It's because we've built a system that plunks everybody into some type of marketable group. I mean, then how else do you expect people to see themselves when you've taught them their whole lives that they are a this or a that? That you are not a complete person in and of yourself. No, you are only as useful as what we can classify you as. And people got tired of it. They got tired of being classified by others for the point of profit, and that's what Web3 is about at a fundamental level, right? It's about individual sovereignty over oneself, whatever that means to you. And for a lot of people, that is a financial conversation, but for some people, it's much, much, much more important. For some people, it's about being able to have an identity that they can be proud of, that they can publicly wear with pride, and not be attacked for it, not be taken advantage of for it, not be deliberately misidentified for shock value, or to prove some kind of point to earn points with the others group. So all that to say this, when I say, can we aim a little higher than Silicon Valley, I think it's a fairly low fucking bar to begin with. And if all we do is recreate Silicon Valley on blockchain, we will have epically failed as an industry, as a society. So I guess that's what I'm saying. If you're a builder, if you're in the industry, if you're coming over from Web 2 especially, leave your old ideas at the door. Bring your skills, bring your talent, bring your experience. Absolutely. Like, I'm not against that. But my God, make sure you leave the mindset at the door. Like, Web3 is a different place. Let's make sure it stays that way, because it's already starting to, there's already a battle for the soul, and you see it every day. If you're in it, and if you're watching and you're reading and you're talking to people, you see it every day. So you already know there's a real risk that we will build a new Silicon Valley, but it'll be a Silicon Valley that has even more access and insight into the individual. And I swear to God, we don't want that. We're seeing it with OpenSea and some of the shit that's happened there. We've seen it with smart contracts being used to dox people. We've seen it with and that's the ones that aren't stealing, right? Like, so there's a real opportunity to take these bad actors and these scary situations and use that as an excuse for more centralization, for more authority, for more for a trusted source to come in and be that regulator. And I'm not saying there's not a place for that, but I am saying let's make sure that if we are, as a society and as an industry, going to could start having these regulators and gatekeepers, that they're coming in with both a mindset and an intention to build and honor what made Web3 different in the first place. Um, and not just rebuild the systems of control that we currently have. So, all that to say this, I'm hopeful we can fulfill the promise of Web3 by making a new version, by making an iterative version that honors and double down on what works about Web 2, and that includes all the Silicon Valley people and companies within that. So yeah, let's double down. Let's honor that. Let's let's use what works, but let's make sure that while doing that, we are also very very aware and intentionally and actively working on the things that didn't work, the things that do need to be improved. And I think one of the major areas is that underlying idea of seeing people as individuals versus seeing them as a member of a group to be advertised to. So anyway, hopefully that explains a little bit what I'm thinking. Appreciate the prompt, by the way, Christopher. It was kind of fun to noodle on, and so I appreciate you sharing, and hopefully this helps. Hopefully this explains my position. And hey, if I'm wrong, cool. Tell me what I'm missing. And yeah, if you want to have like a conversation, yep, go to jamestimberlake.xyz, sign up. We'll have a conversation. Tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me why I'm right. Whatever it is, I'd love to know. And yeah, we'll see you guys. We'll see you next time.